That's all you, buddy.
That's fun. All right, we're good to go. You ready, Shay?
Sure am. Rock and roll, dude.
All right, everybody. I am Justin Woods, and welcome to the Woodscast. With me, as always, or usually, since we haven't done this in 2 weeks, is my younger brother, Shay. What's going on, Shay?
Pretty good. My fucking load of stuff I got to talk about is about to blow. Let's get this bitch off the ground.
I know. We got to get through this.
Right off the bat, I'm going to say this right now. I have pre-ordered 2 Ectotrons at GameStop today.
Are you serious?
Sure did. $5 down on each.
Oh, I got to go do that. Fuck me.
Do it.
Yeah. Okay. So, today on the Woodscast, we, for those of you who are, steadfast listeners, all 24 of you, we have not recorded in a couple weeks, so we got a lot to cover.
Could be a long one, but I'm okay with it.
Yeah, it could be a long one. I have an entire keg of beer, 1,984 ounces of beautiful hops and gold. We're ready to do this. So this week on the Woodscast, we are going to cover several topics. We got our previous week's muff ups and what happened there. Fun stuff and all the we just talked about Ecto 7 toy we got to buy from
Ectotron. Jesus Christ,
Ectotron. Sorry. So fun stuff. There's a bunch of fun stuff on the horizon for everybody who's a kid at heart like Shay and I are. We have the State of the Union. I have a couple questions for Shay on the State of the Union. We have we actually have a new Attorney General, but the acting Attorney General was questioned by the Senate. Or it might have been the House. I'll have to look that up again. And he is a complete doofus. We've got what the fuck's going on in Virginia. We can kind of gloss over that a little bit because they are all just should just fucking resign. But we'll see what's going on there. That was more of an issue 2 weeks ago when we were going to record this podcast. And then finally we have Democrats and Republicans negotiated a deal to keep the government open with Donald Trump's, of course, epic national emergency declaration. And then the 2020 Democratic field is shaping up to be full of a lot of people, some duds, and one really, really excited spoiler who wants to help Donald Trump get reelected. So,
fuck Howard Schultz.
Yeah, goddamn that guy. I don't even fucking drink coffee, so the whole idea, the whole premise of Starbucks is just fucking lost on me. Like,
even if you do drink coffee, you have a tongue, so you wouldn't go there because you'll hear this. You've heard this. Everybody say it with me now. Who knows what I'm about to say? Starbucks burns the beans.
Yeah. I've heard that. I mean, like, because I
don't even know what that means.
Yeah, I don't know what that means either. I mean, I understand you have to roast the beans to get them a certain. It's like barley. It's like making beer. Like
if you make them too hot, I think it makes it acidic, and that's why their coffee tastes like a sweaty donkey's asshole.
Okay, I'll have to take your word for it because I've never had a cup of coffee in my life. I just never developed the habit. So when everybody's talking about how Starbucks is like, our new cultural centers, I'm like, I wouldn't lose a minute of sleep.
You should slap those people.
If you burned them all to the ground now.
No.
Also, just as another coffee aside, I am absolutely livid every time you're in a group of like 4 or more people. You're like, all right, guys, we got a project to do. We got this, and this to do. How do you think we should get started?
I can't do anything before I've had my coffee.
Yeah, we should all walk halfway across.
Here's the thing. As a coffee drinker, I got to say this. Those are the people, like, I'm a coffee drinker, and when we're all talking about how Starbucks burns the beans, we all talk shit about those people. Because as somebody who drinks coffee, and if I have to be somewhere early, I never assume there's going to be coffee. I set that shit to auto brew, and I have a couple cups before I leave, because you got to hit the ground running, people.
Right. My boss is really bad about assuming that wherever he goes, there's going to be coffee. And since I'm not a coffee drinker, like, he came to Argonne to visit, and he was like, so where's the coffee? He's like, fuck, I don't know.
Yeah, what? How's that my problem? You should have Googled that shit.
Yeah, he was like, what are you talking about? I was like, I don't know. I
don't drink coffee. I don't know.
Yeah, I also can't tell you where the heroin is because I don't know what the fuck to go where to go with it. But on his second visit, like, we had like a collaborators meeting at Argonne, so we had a bunch of people from a bunch of different universities and shit coming. I made sure there was coffee and creamer there for everybody, just because I'm that awesome. But they were like, "Is this a good roast?" I'm like, "Fuck, I don't know."
It's coffee.
Yeah, it's brown stuff. You put the hot water over it, and apparently you all love that shit. So. All right, so Howard Schultz can eat everybody's asses. Shay, would you like to know what the weekly numbers are?
I would fucking love to, Justin. If I didn't, would you not say them?
Oh, I was going to say them regardless because
we'll keep going.
OCD sack of shit.
Yep. Cool.
All right, so we are in the 758th day of the Trump administration. We are, Shay, this is a nice round number, 250 days since Donald Trump ended the North Korea nuclear crisis. We are coming up on that second summit. It should be at the end of this month, and I don't know if they've named it, but I'm calling it Summit 2 Dark Territory after that really shitty follow-up to what was a great action flick of Under Siege. The
never
second
saw
was
it.
called. You never saw Under Siege?
Nope. Can't say I have.
The one on the battleship with Steven Seagal?
Nope.
Oh,
I know the movie. I've just never seen it. Justin, up until like 3 weeks ago, I'd never seen fucking Roadhouse.
Oh, whoa, wow.
Yeah,
They let you vote?
Yeah, they do let me vote.
Yeah. No, you
and buy a gun.
Yeah. You gotta watch Under Siege because it's a great clip. It's actually his best like action movie, bar none. I think. I mean, Hard to Kill is probably just as good, but the second one, like most sequels, just goes right off the fucking cliff. It's absolutely horrible. It's like, all right, we're gonna take this. We had this really great premise of a Navy SEAL, who was busted down to a cook on a battleship that's been taken over. Like they had this great premise. They're like, all right, now let's do that again on a train.
This is the best episode of Seagal talk we've ever had.
Yeah, it's great. All right, so that's what I'm going to call this new North Korea summit. We've had a working government for approximately 23 days. I don't know if that's a record or not, but we should keep track of that. Donald Trump's approval rating with Gallup did about a 7% bump after they. So as of the 10th of this month, and as of February 10th, I should have said earlier. We are recording this on the hell is this? This is Sunday the 17th, February 17th.
I don't have a job. Days are meaningless.
So we're recording this on Sunday the 17th. As of the 10th, Donald Trump's approval rating with Gallup was 44%, which was about a 7-point jump since the last time they took it. And his approval rating with 538 is still 41.8. So like those numbers don't move around a lot. Even with a 7-point jump, Donald Trump's approval rating still stays exactly between that 35 and 45% mark, where it hasn't moved since he was elected. Fun side note, Shay, Alex Jones spent about 3 days lying his ass off about these numbers. I know you're shocked.
God, unbelievable. Quick reminder, we are on more podcast mediums than Alex Jones.
Yeah. Oh, yes. We are on like multiple more podcast mediums than Alex Jones. Later, sometime tomorrow, I'm going to throw this podcast up on YouTube. He's not even fucking allowed probably to look at YouTube anymore. So, he was saying that like all of them were at 52%. And then he goes on this rant about how all pollsters will oversample Democrats by 15 to 25% in every poll to make Donald Trump look stupid. Case in point, you don't have to make Donald Trump look stupid. He does that on his own, and we'll get to that later on his rambling fucking, national emergency declaration. But so Shay, just so you know, Donald Trump's real approval rating is between 65 and 85%. So just FYI.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. All right, so last week, actually it's 2 weeks now. 2 weeks ago now, we had a major technical muff up. I'd like to give a big shout out to a friend of the pod and sometimes guest, John Matty. He caught it for us. And apparently when Shay and I were recording the podcast 2 weeks ago, the recording became out of sync, like in real time. So about at the 10 minute, and this is how I didn't catch it because I don't listen to the whole thing. I just listen to like the beginning and end so I can throw the bumpers on and make sure you can hear us. But
we could have a whole series of episodes where nobody could hear it and we don't know.
Yeah, there can be. I mean, people do listen and people do send us messages. That's why I gotta say thanks to John because he caught it. Like apparently at the 10-minute mark, it got out of sync. So like you would hear me talk, and then there'd be a long pause where in real time I was listening to Shay's response, and then after that we would both talk over each other. Where I guess I was responding to Shay and he was, So it was just long pause and then gibberish, and then long pause and then gibberish. Where Shay said before, we usually try to plan this out. So whenever, you're not hearing me talk, Shay's drinking. And whenever I stop talking,
Justin's the one that is drinking. So now I'm talking. And it's a wonderful system we've got here.
Yeah.
And I'm a little stoned, so he caught me off guard with that. But hey, it's cool. We're peeing into the wind on this one.
We're rolling, yeah. So we had to scrap that whole podcast, and then this past week, our schedules just didn't line up. Shay had some fun stuff to do, and since nobody pays us,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we're not really like. I mean, if shit comes up, like if Shay wants to go party and get hammered, we're gonna just kick it back for another week. All right, so we apologize, but we will try to keep a more reasonable schedule. All right, next fun stuff. We got a lot of shit on the horizon. The first thing I want to talk about is there's a bunch of movies coming up. I'm kind of behind in the movies I watched in the theater. I still need to see Glass, even though it was like horribly reviewed.
Yeah, I mean, and full disclaimer, we talk about reviews and stuff a lot, and obviously, even like it's a review. If you really are curious enough about it, you should go see it regardless. Like,
right.
Yeah. So, but still, it has reviewed pretty poorly. But yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. So I haven't been taking time to go to the theater because I've been trying to play all the video games that are out there. And I stumbled across a new one. I know you're playing it. Apex Legends.
I am balls deep in Apex Legends. 3 hours of that game before I got on here with you.
Now I want to say right off the bat that the battle royale genre is not my go to. Like I'm more of a Titanfall 2 guy. So for those of you who haven't been following this, Apex Legends was a free to play. Battle royale game.
Should we define battle royale for the people that may not know?
Go ahead,
I'm going to. That's why I brought it up. Trick question. It's happening. Basically, it's just it's last man standing. So in one of the more popular games you'll hear, which is PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, 100 people drop on an island and you're all shooting each other in the face until one person is left. And in Apex Legends, it's a similar idea, except it's 60 people divided into teams of 3, and then the last team of 3 standing wins. That's all it is.
And so, I jumped into it, and it's fun. It's so
you have it on Xbox, right?
Fun. Okay. Yeah, I have it on Xbox. But I was thinking about downloading and putting it on my PC because it's just
I got a regular group of guys back in West Virginia that we've been playing consistently. So the game really hits its stride. It's really, if you can play it with 2 other people that know what they're doing and you can communicate, it is so much more fun.
Well, I can totally see that because I dropped in having literally zero understanding of what it was or how it was going to work, and I killed 3 people in I'd say 40 seconds. I was like, first of all, I'm not a first-person shooter guru, so either those people were absolute mongoloids or this game is just fluid as shit.
It's both.
And it was.
It's very smooth. It's very fluid.
It was fun.
Yeah, and especially if you've played Titanfall 2, you've already got a base understanding of how the controls feel and move.
And that was my thing. It's I heard it was from the same developers of Titanfall and Titanfall 2. Titanfall, for those of you not familiar with that game, that's a game, it's a first-person shooter that involves mechs. Now, for some weird reason, the multiplayer of Titanfall was super fun because the whole thing is you jump in with about 6 or 8 guys, and then it's 6 or 8 against 6 or 8. I forget what the actual team numbers were. And then, much like a super in Destiny or some other game, once you get enough kills, you can call in a Titan, which is I'd say about 20, 25 foot tall mech that you climb into.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, the center of them look like Easter eggs because it's just like this sphere in the middle of this mechanized weapon platform. You hop in it, and then in the game you can call those mechs down on groups of people. So you can see a bunch of guys advancing on you. You'd be like, fuck you guys.
Yeah, I mean you can get in situations where you come around a corner in a mech and you're just stepping on people that don't have their mechs.
Oh yeah,
yet.
It's great.
So much fun.
The multiplayer was amazing. The campaign was
for the first Titanfall. The second Titanfall was incredible.
Right. The first Titanfall, the campaign was just multiplayer. So
with bots.
The campaign. Yeah, you'd play through it. Win or lose, you'd advance to the next thing. It made no sense. But Titanfall 2 put in a great campaign where you of course have to take over the Titan of your commanding officer, and you go off and win the day. I'm about halfway through that campaign. I know I'm gonna get my guts torn out when they actually kill BT-7472.
Greetings, pilot.
Yeah,
I do not recommend that action, pilot.
Yeah, those games are so fun, and the fact that the same company made this and it feels so much like Titanfall. Shay was right. You just slide.
I mean, Respawn Entertainment knows what they're doing because keep in mind they're the ones that started the original Titan or Call of Duty series, and because the guys that worked at it there then left and formed Respawn after Activision bought Infinity Ward, I believe.
Yeah. it's one of the things that makes me so happy is that it's absolutely crushing Fortnite, which
Yes.
is a complete
I
garbage
don't.
game.
I'm a big I have a huge boner for battle royale games, and Fortnite pisses me off so much. And part of it's that thing where it's just like, oh man, there's just so many people playing this game. Which, incidentally, I think Apex Legends is the number one played game on the planet right now. Last I checked, it's
Yeah.
like 25 or 30 million
Well,
downloads and like an average active player base of like 2 to 3 million. It's just fucking bananas.
yeah, those were the numbers I read. It took excuse me, it took Apex Legends 72 hours to hit 10 million players, and they average between 2 and 4 million players online at any given time. And it took Fortnite over 2 weeks to get there. And Fortnite, I mean, the problem with Fortnite is it got so popular, and it's got this bullshit third person shooter
Third
perspective.
person is fucking cheater mode. I'm sorry. Like, if we're gonna like talk from armchair general nerd lord standards, like being able to crouch and then peek around a corner without them seeing you is for bitches.
Well, and if it's not a Gears of War game
Yeah.
and I don't have a chainsaw gun, fuck
Yeah,
off.
no.
Just fuck right the fuck
First person,
off.
but I mean, you and I grew up playing fucking Doom 2 online, so that wasn't an option.
Right?
So
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so it's absolutely crushing the garbage game that is Fortnite. The first time I actually watched Fortnite, Shay, like you said, everybody's talking about it and everybody's streaming it. Like, so all these Twitch streamers will just like stream themselves for hour playing Fortnite, which I know is a way to make money, and it's a hard thing to do to actually play a game and be funny enough and quip enough without being super racist and anti-Semitic for hours to like keep people engaged to watch you play this shit game. But like the first time I saw Fortnite, I was like, "This is a mobile game, right?
it looks
Like,
like it.
this is this something I should play on my old BlackBerry? What the fuck is this thing?" Like, made me so mad.
It's frustrating as hell.
So anyway, speaking of video games, you see that Blizzard laid off like 800 people after it made a record profits?
Yeah, that's what happens when Activision buys you. It's I mean,
Yeah.
to short answer your question is yes, I did see that. It's just it's one of those things that like it sucks because Blizzard, up until the last few years, was one of the pretty much till Activision bought them, was one of those companies that I consistently was a fanboy for. Like, I'm all about Warcraft 3, StarCraft 2. Diablo 2, Diablo 3. I dipped my balls into, excuse me, Overwatch, and for a little bit didn't really take, and then same thing with World of Warcraft. But I mean, that's that's one of those things. It really happens in the game industry, and Activision is known for that. They will come in and they will buy a company that has a great profit or a great product, and they will just wreck house, because I mean it's just what they do. It's kind of like how EA has a reputation for doing that, where like which again, like with like Respawn Entertainment that made Apex Legends, EA owns them. So I'm always a little iffy about it. Like, it's a free game, it's free to play. So down the line, they could start saying stuff like, hey, pay me an extra $1 a month if you want to be able to shoot people in this game. But it was sad to see what Blizzard happened, but especially as somebody who was laid off from a company that had really poor messaging. My understanding was a lot of those employees at Blizzard found out about it because a game site tweeted that people were being laid off, and they didn't know. Cause like one dude walks outside, starts crying because he's been laid off. Game journalist sees that, tweets about it, and then you've got people at Blizzard who are finding out they're about to lose their job from a Twitter that is no way related to Blizzard as a company thing. So that must have been super shitty.
Well, yeah, and
which makes me hesitant to buy Diablo 3, because I've actually never played it, and I was just about to pick it up, but I don't know.
It's no, I will say that Diablo 3 is super fun. The whole fanboying for different studios is a thing, but since they buy and cannibalize each other so much, it's lost a lot of that luster. Like, I mean, when we were playing Diablo 1 and 2, like, Blizzard could do no wrong.
Oh, absolutely, like, especially during the days of Diablo 2.
Yeah, and World of Warcraft and StarCraft, like, if Blizzard was going to release a game, you were just going to fucking buy it. You didn't know what it was. Like, you might find out after you open it that it was a middle school simulator. Like, you just sat through a middle school geography class, and you're like,
and what you would say is, "Oh my god, these cinematics are so good."
Yeah, some bullshit like that. I think the reason it made such a splash is not that people give a shit whether Blizzard hires or fires its whole staff. Is like I think everybody was expecting a new. There's no marquee games on their
No,
roster
and then
this
the
year.
last thing they announced was that dog shit Diablo mobile game.
Right. Oh, that was so dumb.
That
So
chaps
dumb.
my butthole.
It was
I mean,
so dumb.
you can
I
have a
downloaded
Diablo game on
several.
mobile, that's fine, but don't make that your main pillar. Don't make that the next
Yeah.
big Diablo game. Like, give me one of two things: a remake of Diablo 2 with a modern engine, or Diablo
Right.
4 gets fuck out, and then later on you can release your crappy
Yeah.
mobile game.
I downloaded a bunch of emulators to my phone when I found out that they had, like a
Oh, hell
NES
yeah.
emulator and all. I was like, oh, that's gonna be so great. But then you quickly realize that without the textile differential
Ooh,
between the A
so
and B
hard.
button, like you have no clue where
No,
your
it's
thumb
hard.
is. Like, what the
Now
fuck's
you
going on
can
here?
buy these
Yeah.
really badass things that basically look like a 360 controller, and then it's got a little
Yeah.
harness on the back that your phone clicks into, and so you can sync it and you can play those games. It basically turns your phone into a little game console. And I've thought about buying
Right.
one of those, but most times when I've never found gaming on a phone to be that enjoyable to where I'm going to carry around a fucking controller like a jackass.
No, no, no. I'd rather open up my laptop like a jackass.
Exactly.
Okay, we have another nerdery news. We have it officially now that Ben Affleck is no longer going to be
I
Batman.
did see that, which
So
I'll say this right now. I
Batfleck was
fucking love
dead.
Batfleck. I don't care what anybody says. He
I love
was the
Batfleck
best part
too.
of the DC universe so far as I'm concerned.
Right.
Like,
I was happy. Like, okay,
I do
Christian
like that dude
Bale,
as the Flash, though. I will
Batman.
say that. I do
What's
like
that?
what's his face as the Flash.
Oh yeah. I know who you're talking about. Christian Bale as Batman and Batman Begins looked like he could kick somebody's ass. Like he put on something like 35, 40 pounds of muscle to play that role and looked like he was, formidable as Batman. Since that point, I mean, I don't think Michael Keaton like he was kind of the Tim Burton Batman, and you can be skinny and be the Tim Burton Batman, I guess. And
A lot of his
whatever.
bulk came from what was the suit. I'm sure he toned up
Yeah,
for it, but he wasn't like a big dude.
yeah. Ben Affleck is the tallest Batman at 6'2"
No
or
shit.
6'3", if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. I think he's 6'3". He's the tallest Batman by far to this point, and he actually looked like he could kick somebody's ass. Like, it wasn't cinematics when he was just pounding on people. And I will never forget in Batman versus Superman, which we could actually do an entire podcast on the pros and cons of that movie. But when he face plants the guy through
Oh,
the
it's
floor,
fantastic.
there you go. Like, you're my Batman for life now.
Was it yeah, it was Batman versus Superman where he uses his bat grapple and pulls the crate across the room and hits the guy in the head with it, right? That's that warehouse scene toward where they introduced Batman. See, that's why I like him. And I probably would have been a big fan of whoever played him in that, just because that's the only movie where they depict Batman moving the way he moved in the comics or like the animated series. When you first see Batman, he's up in the corner of the ceiling, like with all four hands and arms out, standing above, and then he swings down and goes out under the door frame, and it's fucking awesome. It's great. That's how he moved in the comics. It was really cool. All the issues with those movies, like Ben Affleck's Batman, I don't think is one of them.
No. And everybody was, I guess, I don't know if it's because of just his history of movies or whatever, but
it's because it was Daredevil. That's what it is. When he played Daredevil, that's why. Because he's got that great clip. It's like Conan O'Brien or Jay Leno, where he says that he saw the reaction. He's like, he opened a thread on Reddit about his announcement of playing Batman, and the top comment was just no, and he was like, all right, well, fuck you guys. But that's what it was. It's because that Daredevil movie that came out in the early 2000s was garbage.
Oh yeah. If you guys haven't seen that,
the extended cut is supposed to be an actual good flick. It's like 40 minutes longer, but I've never seen it. I don't need to see Ben Affleck in that much leather.
Yeah. But the upside of us losing a honest to God Batfleck is that now, well, I don't know if it's an upside, but now every 14 minutes online, somebody's like volunteering to play Batman, or we get this new, like, the studio is eyeing so-and-so. And right now, apparently the studio is eyeing, was it Robert Pattinson?
I don't even know who that is.
The sparkly vampire from the Twilight
dumb.
series.
I just because he was in those Twilight movies, that's dumb. Like, I mean, now having said that, and this is something everyone should keep in mind moving forward in this nerd off here, is that if you had told me that fucking what's his face from A Knight's Tale was going to play what Joker, and if you would have told me back in the day that Heath Ledger was going to be one of the best, if not the best, on-screen Joker, I would have slapped you right in your stupid face. And he was fucking incredible. So I mean, it could work out. Let that, but still, I'm going to be thinking about Twilight the whole movie. So that's why I don't want that to happen.
Right. Well, and he just looks like another like
he's too pretty.
Of course, you need. Well, yeah. And the thing is that yes, the alter ego of Batman, or I'm sorry, Bruce Wayne is the real life person whose alter ego is Batman, and so you need to pick somebody who would look clean cut and crisp in a suit and blah blah blah, and that would be Robert Patterson or whatever the hell his name is. I don't give a shit. But a lot of other people have thrown their name into the ring, and some of them, like, that's just noise. I don't really give a shit about that. But every now and then, one of them, somebody will do it, and it will really pique my interest. And right now, apparently, Chris Maloney of Law and Order SOU fame wants to do it. Like, he said, I want to be Batman. And that really piqued my interest because Chris Maloney is about the age of, got my mic cord stuck in my pocket knife here. He's about the age of Ben Affleck. He is a muscular guy. Like, he can look clean cut when he wants to. He's got some weight on him. Looks like he can kick somebody's ass. I liked him, and he was the Army general in Man of Steel.
Oh, that guy. I mean,
the guy that drew a knife and was like, let's do this, bitch, and of course, Superman like threw a train at the girl before he could get his ass handed to him, but. Like, I think that would be interesting, but we're going to have another, 18 months of this nonsense?
Yeah, and I don't follow the DC production schedule enough to know, like, has him not being Batman pushed back production of other movies? Or is that, I don't think it has either, so I imagine they'll find somebody to play him, and then when they do, you're going to hear about it, because Batman's kind of a big deal in the DC universe, I'm told.
Yeah, he's part of the Trinity. Well, like when Superman, what the hell's his name?
Henry Cavill?
Yeah, when they went back and forth and he was out of the role, like, everybody was like shitting themselves. And
I don't really give a shit who plays Superman, but that's because Superman isn't one of my favorites. Like in this, I don't like. Yeah,
I think we've gone over this before in the podcast. He's just such a generic character as a staple of the DCU. Just find some buff white.
I mean, honestly, though, having said that, who I fucking love is Superman is the guy that plays Superman on Supergirl. He's pretty solid because he pops back in, and I mean, he's more of a Dean Cain kind of Superman. He's kind of a little trimmer. He's a little more slim. He's not like big and muscly, which I don't have a problem with. You don't have to be super ripped. I mean, depending on which Superman comic you're reading, he's not like All-Star Superman. He's not like a big buff Adonis looking dude. So, but I just don't give a shit. It's just got to be somebody decent. As long as it's not like, all right, Jack Nicholson is Superman or fucking Shia LaBeouf or like Michael Ian Black is Superman. I don't give a fuck. Yeah. Yeah, dude. But yeah, all day. Superman. Yeah, I don't really care. We'll see. I don't know what they're going to do with him because there is a Justice League 2 in production, but I don't know how far along it is or really care either.
I think the focus right now is on things like Shazam and
and I will say Shazam, I am optimistic for. I think it looks great. If the tone of the trailers is any indication, it's going to be fun. And I really just want Shazam introduced into the universe, so at some point in the future we could get a Superman versus Shazam movie. Which has been done already, animated and in the comic books. And just for anyone that doesn't know, Shazam is basically as strong as Superman, but he gets his powers from magic, so he can just wail on Superman and just beat his ass. And that would be very fun to watch on screen. I bet you won't see that because of the reaction of Batman versus Superman. Another versus movie wouldn't fly, I bet. But I don't know, they made money off of it, so who knows?
And we've had that discussion back and forth, like, everybody wants to just shit all over these movies that make 4 or 5 times their budget, but No, yeah, and Super. I always love the Shazam versus Superman stuff because, like Shay said, Shazam has most of the power Superman does, and they're equal in strength, so they can just wail on each other. But Superman's one weakness, which is always discussed in the comics, is he
Other
has
than
no,
kryptonite.
he has no, yeah, his other than Kryptonite, of course, everybody knows that one, but he has no natural resistances to magic.
So, like, if you hit him with a laser,
So
whatever. But if it's a magic laser beam,
well, if it's like a
yeah,
magic lightning bolt, which is how Shazam gets his powers, and that's the trope of most of these verses. Like one of the best verses series ever, Kingdom Come by Alex. Oh God, I'm drawing a
oh,
blank.
who the hell? Who knows?
Yeah, the writer and artist. It'll come to me in a second. But Superman's trying to whip the shit out of
Alex
Shazam, and,
Ross.
and all Shazam does is Alex Ross. Thank you. Shazam just kind of like holds on to Superman and just keeps screaming Shazam and keeps transforming back and forth. And every time that lightning bolt hits, Superman just gets
Yeah,
this world
it's a lot of
fucked.
fun.
And
That
it's like,
hurts. Stop
ouch.
it.
Yeah, quit. All right. Oh, speaking of big hunky men, Shay, we have a He-Man reboot
Really?
in the works. Going to start filming in
Huh.
July. Yeah,
I mean that's cool.
we can't talk. We can't talk about hunky men without talking about He-Man, and you also can't talk about He-Man without talking about the
Masters of the
absolute
Universe.
bonkers 19.
Oh, that movie is.
Oh man,
I remember. Yeah.
Dolph Lundgren
Holy
is
shit! Like
He-Man.
I remember as
I
a
mean,
kid being confused by it because like I love the cartoon, but then the movie was even as a kid I was like, this is no
yeah,
good. I don't like this. Why don't I like
this
this?
is
I should like this.
this is insane.
It's He-Man, right? But it's
Yeah.
not. It's yeah, fuck.
I mean, you had Courtney Cox, you
Dude.
had Dolph Lundgren, you had you actually had some heavy hitter actors that played some of Skeletor's minions and shit. It was bonkers that they did that shit, and so yeah. I think if they whoever I don't know who they've cast for any of this, but I just saw that they've started filming, and I hope they cast the biggest roided out son of a bitch they can find.
Oh, depends on what angle you take it. Honestly, He-Man at its core is kind of a fantasy movie. I mean, it's a fantasy. So if you did like a dark-ish fantasy film or just like a really over the top, and it doesn't need to be that dark. I mean, we're talking like the later Harry Potter movies dark. It could be a lot of fun, but I don't know who is associated with it. It's let's see. I don't know if there's anything. Oh, here we go. Masters of the Universe to be directed by the Nee brothers, who have done absolutely nothing. So, could be great, could suck ass, but I'll probably go see it regardless.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, yeah. So we got that. Shay and I have already talked about some Transformer stuff before. We got a Transformer cartoon coming out.
Yeah, that's it's a. I don't know if you've seen it, but the showrunner on that is a guy that was behind a animated show that was just a web series. Each episode's about 11 minutes long, called Power of the Primes, which is reviewed pretty well, but I've never watched it. The animation studio is going to be Polygon Animation, which are the guys that did a bunch of the Netflix animated stuff. It's the same those animated Godzilla movies. It's the computer generated anime style, not hand drawn. I'm honestly not a huge fan of that style of animation, but the people behind that War for Cybertron series have done some cool stuff, so I'm cautiously optimistic.
All right, everybody, we are back. And after about 40 minutes of absolute nonsense, let's talk about some news, Shay.
Yeah, like it's gonna be not nonsense, all business from here on out.
We're gonna get real serious, everybody.
This is where shit gets real.
Yeah, this is where shit gets real. All right. So in the so since we've did a podcast, Donald Trump gave gave his State of the Union, and he gave the first State of the Union after the longest government shutdown in the history of the United States. So hashtag MAGA.
Killing it.
Yeah, killing it. The only thing that really stuck out to me is that, I mean, he said a bunch of bullshit. We all know he's going to say a bunch of bullshit. He says a bunch of bullshit when he can't not lie. So the idea that the State of the Union was going to be some epic, all-American, clusterfuck there was never going to be anything other than a bunch of lies there.
Yeah.
And apparently kicked the speech back to a speechwriter several times because he wanted it to be more mean to Democrats for making him look like a dipshit. But the two things that did stick out to me that he told everybody, he said that you have to drop the investigations into me, just like Nixon did.
I was about to say, you know who else said that in his State of the Union?
Oh yeah,
Tricky Dick.
Yeah. So, like, here's the quote. It says, on Friday, it was announced that we added another 304,000 jobs last month alone, almost double what was expected. An economic miracle is taking place in the United States. The only thing that can stop it is foolish wars, politics, or ridiculous partisan investigations.
I mean, are you surprised? No. That was always going to be what he's doing. That's always what it was going to be.
He went on to say, if there is going to be peace and legislation, there cannot be war and investigation. It just doesn't work that way.
Actually,
he thought that was a literary goal.
He thought that was going to be his next the wall.
Yeah.
That was his thing. Yeah. That shit's ridiculous. And what's funny about that is that's actually exactly what the House is supposed to do: legislate and investigate. That's their job. So, and it's fuck that. That's ridiculous.
Well, and we see again and again, and we'll talk about more of it in this podcast alone as we go through what has happened in the last 2 weeks, that Donald Trump legitimately does not know how the United States and its government operates. Just doesn't fucking have a clue.
Yeah, he didn't get it.
Doesn't get it. And then the other thing that's stuck out to me,
he doesn't care. One of the two.
What's that?
Or he just doesn't care.
Oh, he doesn't know.
No, that's probably true.
He would have to study a lot to learn, and then you would be correct that he doesn't care. But he's not even,
he doesn't understand it enough to not care.
Like if you handed him a list of bullet points that were the fucking the what we call the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments to the Constitution, he'd be like, yeah, whatever. Like, then they would have to be bullet points, because the whole, the First Amendment, something like what? It's like maybe 300 characters,
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's fucking stupid. How some of these amendments are so short. He would be like, I'm not reading that. Whatever. The other one that really stuck out to me was he actually called for an end to late-term abortions, as if he had not been pro-life his whole life, or pro-choice his whole life. I'm sorry.
What and I'm not even going to pretend to understand what by definition makes something a late-term quotes abortion. It's how far it is into the pregnancy, but I guess I could just fucking Google it. But
right. Well, first of all, late-term abortion is not a medical term.
It is not. Okay, so that says a lot.
Yeah, so what they're basically saying is that they used to be illegal for any, depending on state to state, of course, but what Roe versus Wade did was on privacy basis. Like, people forget about this. Roe v. Wade was a privacy argument that the government has no business to know what a woman is doing with their nether parts.
Yeah.
So it was a privacy issue, and it guaranteed a woman the right to abortion up to viability, which is generally, neither you and I are fucking gynecologists, but it's generally accepted to be like 24 weeks into the pregnancy. But a lot of places have posted and passed laws that, the second viability is there, these heartbeat laws, like as soon as you can detect a heartbeat, you're not allowed to abort the fetus. And so, but the other thing Roe v. Wade did was guarantee the right to an abortion after viability. And what has stirred up all this, and the reason Donald Trump said this, I'll read you the quote right now. It's because it's complete horseshit, and he didn't write it. I'll read it to you, and if you think Donald Trump wrote it, I would like you to send me $100. Yeah. There could be no greater contrast to the beautiful image of a mother holding her infant child than the chilling displays our nation saw in recent days. Lawmakers in New York cheering with delight upon the passage of legislation that will allow a baby to be ripped from the mother's womb moments before birth. These are living, feeling, beautiful babies who will never get a chance to share their love and dreams with the world. And then we had the case of Governor of Virginia, where he basically stated that he would execute the baby after birth. To defend the dignity of every person, I'm asking Congress to pass legislation to prohibit late-term abortions, again, not a medical term, of children who can feel pain in the mother's womb. Let us work together to build a culture that cherishes innocent life. Let us reaffirm the fundamental truth. All children, born and unborn, are made in the holy image of God.
Well, I can't imagine he didn't write that.
So you're saying you're not going to send me $100?
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Dad, that's so fucking stupid. I mean, the thing that with me is that if that's, then who gets to define what late term means? I mean, that's a whole different. I mean, even
Basically, the general consensus of people is that it's in the third trimester.
Okay, third trimester. I mean,
because many pregnancies that are carried into the third trimester can be, prematurely, C-sections, stimulated, whatever, like things like that happen. But what they're doing right now, like here's some really, like, pay attention to the words right here. Fuck, I lost it.
Killing it.
Okay, passage of legislation would allow babies to be ripped from a mother's womb moments before birth. So what they're saying is that nomenclature says that people, aka Democrats, would like to wait until a woman is in labor, dilated. Maybe the baby's crowning a little bit. Just be like, yeah, fuck it, we don't want this baby, and just stab in the face.
I mean, all of this, the language in that speech is very. It's designed to evoke an emotional response, and it's the kind of thing that he says a lot, where it sounds really good. It's a great soundbite, but once it goes to the courts, when they try to pass the laws, then someone's going to ask the question, "Well, what does late-term abortion mean?" They're going to talk to a doctor, and the doctor's going to say, "Well, that's not a thing," and then it's all going to grind to a halt while they figure that out. Like,
right.
It's just him talking out of his ass. It sounds good. I mean, if you're all for pro-life, like, I guarantee you that speech made a lot of people go, fuck yeah. But like the nitty gritty of it is, I highly doubt there's any kind of research been done into the legal framework of that.
Well, actually, like, the reason he's so upset is because New York passed this law on the 22nd.
My understanding was New York passed a law that just ratified Roe versus Wade on the state level if it got overturned at the federal level, and that's literally all. They were literally saying they're literally only saying the law we've been following since the 1970s is still the law if the feds overturn it in the state of New York, and nothing is different other than that. Okay, exactly. That's just to make that fucking clear.
Yeah, and let's make something else fucking clear. The thing that chaps my ass is that if you want to be pro-life, fantastic. I don't think that if you, Shay, if you and I had a 3-part series with either one of my friends or one of your friends who was ardently pro-life, we could change it. I don't think that's a topic that you like waffle on much. But when you tell me that you're pro-life because Democrats want to kill babies right when they're born or after they're born, then you're a fucking moron.
Cite your sources.
Yeah, and cite your sources, because here's the problem. Like, the pro-life movement, Donald Trump, Alex Jones, all of these really, really right-wing cranks like to talk about Democrats as if that the only thing that we enjoy is to kill babies once they're viable. And that's A, absolutely fucking absurd, and B, not even close to the truth. National statistics show that just over 1% of abortions performed in the United States in any given year are late-term abortions. These are abortions. These are abortions that were not, like, they're not done willy-nilly. Like, nobody does an abortion at the 8th month because they had decided to get pregnant and then decided against it because, they maybe wanted to move and didn't want to move with a newborn. No, that's not what's
I think as somebody who doesn't actually have to make this decision, I think that's the thing that pisses me off so much about the GOP talking points is if you were going to follow the way the GOP talk about it and the way the talking heads on Fox News talk about it, you would think you have people that are getting pregnant just because they want to abort a baby. Like the cadence, the way they talk about it, the language they use makes it sound like these people are going into these clinics gleefully expecting an abortion, when in reality it is going to be one of the hardest, if not the hardest decision that person has ever made or ever will make in their life. Like, and nobody wants to do it.
Right. Because these are not just willy-nilly decisions, like you said.
This is something people agonize over.
These are wanted pregnancies that went south. Like, either the baby was going to be born with a horrible deformity and would not survive, or the actual act of birth could possibly kill the mother. That's how this works. And Shay, you and I talked about this on the podcast that got garbled and fucking eaten into the abyss. But there was a woman, a doctor who actually performs these, and I'm gonna have to look in my.
And don't most, if not all, states require? I mean, my understanding is and again, the actual legal physical process of it is less the details for me. But I understand there's also like things like you don't just walk in and go, I want this done, and they do it. There's some counseling involved, and you have to talk to somebody. And
Oh no,
yeah,
yeah, and in a lot of these states, the only way, the only way that a late term abortion, quote unquote, we keep using the term. It's not even it's not a medical term, but a pregnancy terminated after, say, the 20th or 24th week, are recommended by doctors and signed off by doctors. So here's one of the gynecologists. She's kind of gone viral. Her name is Jennifer Gunter. She did a Twitter thread where she just went through and said, like, listen, I have done late term abortions. I have done these. They are always, always for the health of the mother or the fact that the fetus is not viable.
yeah.
And she says that the only time she knew of one that was done where the fetus may have been viable was that the fetus, it was a sister raped by a brother situation, and that was in Michigan, and Michigan had a law where you could not terminate a pregnancy after the 24th month, and the parents of the daughter did not know about the pregnancy until after that point. So like they were like, holy shit, this is not a good situation. They petitioned to be able to travel out of the state to have the abortion. The state just knee-jerk reaction because of the laws on the book said, no, you can't do that. And then they interviewed the mother, the father, the daughter, and they're like, holy shit, she was raped by her brother. Yeah, go where the fuck you got to go to get this taken care of. This is not a pregnancy you want to, perpetuate into your family, So that was the one instance she could come up with, and that was in 1998. So this is
I mean,
kind of like the fucking voter ID law. This is an outrage for a problem that doesn't exist. Yeah. Nobody, in a perfect world, there would never be a late term abortion. And in a perfect world, there would never be an abortion, period. But in a perfect world, there would be happy family units that never fought, and they were never in poverty, and nobody beat anybody, and nobody molested anybody. And
I mean, it's just one of those things. Like I can understand where you're coming from on this. If when you just say, I believe it's wrong. I get that, but when your information is based off of this narrative that people on the left are just gleefully strolling through, twirling a cane into the abortion clinic, which is how they make it sound. And it. Which is a good example of how language plays a difference in the argument, because anyone on, both parties are not the same. People on the right use the term abortions. People on the left will use that term, and a lot of the talking heads on the right will say kill babies, which has a completely different connotation. And that messaging is what makes it so fucking infuriating, because it's not at all a good example of the reality of the situation.
Well, even, and I can give you. Actually, Shay, I think I sent you a link to the discussion I had on Facebook with a friend of mine, who was using these very far right talking points from an Alex Jones, from a Sean Hannity, and he was like, "Well, I don't listen to those people." Like, well, you might not listen to them, but you're using their fucking words.
Yeah.
And one of the arguments they have is like, well, if aborting a baby or a fetus, whatever you want to call it, 3 days before it's supposed to be born is okay, why not 3 days after it's born? Or why not 3 years after it's born? I was like, are you fucking shitting me? Like, how does a
nice
law...
Nice pivot, written, bro.
Yeah, nice pivot to hyperbole, bro. How does a law that is written to protect the health of the mother applicable when the baby is outside of the mother's womb? Like, unless we have some kind of satanic Chucky issues going on, that mother should be totally set, barring complications, which can happen. But like, there's no reason that even if there were horrible complications that caused the baby's already born. It's over here just kicking ass. It's fine. And then if the mother goes into complications, you don't, act revenge on the baby. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Hold on a second.
We are good to go.
Okay.
Yes, sorry.
Yeah, okay. What were you saying?
That was me left our new software on mute from coughing from a giant hit from my vape. Anyway,
Okay.
and this works even better to bring the mood of the conversation down a little bit. You mentioned those Chucky movies. Did you know in the new one he's an AI gone rogue and not a serial killer in his body? That is
Oh,
bullshit, and Hollywood ruins
he's a
everything.
bad bitch.
Sorry to steer the conversation, but I had to say it. I'm very angry about that. Anyway,
I could have gone my whole life without knowing that, Shay, until the movie was released. And
sorry, dude. Yep.
I would have angry.
Nope. It's a new AI toy gone horribly wrong.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
all right. So the State of the Union was predictably, dumb.
yeah.
All right. So did you watch any of this? Okay, moving along. Did you watch any of this acting AG? I think his name is Matt Whitaker, but
Yeah, the acting guy is Matt Whitaker, and the other guy is William Barr.
William Barr.
Yeah, is that right?
Yeah,
okay.
So we actually have an official attorney general right now. His name's William Barr. A lot of the LGBTQ and more socially active groups have said that Barr is a bad guy, and he's not a very socially accepting guy. But the main reason I think Donald Trump picked him or would approve of him is because during the Iran Contra affair, when Herbert Walker Bush was elected president, Barr was his attorney general, and he recommended pardoning fuck everybody.
Yeah,
like that was he will say that. Like, he says that in news interviews. He says, "In for a penny, in for a pound. If you're going to pardon that guy, pardon fuck everybody." So I think Donald Trump's very, very happy that he might be able to pardon fuck everybody if the shit hits the fan with a Robert Barr.
What's funny about this is that one of the more fun scuttlebutts that I've seen float around that there's nobody can confirm or deny. It's just one of those funny things you see online. Is that Trump is kind of butthurt because he found out after the fact that William Barr and Mueller are actually they're friends.
Oh, yeah.
They know each other. They're on good terms. That could just be one of those things that people say out there to throw out there because it looks good politically. But it would be funny if that were the case. I don't know. He's better than Matt Whitaker.
And that's the thing I want to talk about. Matt Whitaker.
It's an appointed position. Of course, it's going to be somebody he likes. He thought Jeff Sessions was great until he's like, God damn it, you recused yourself. What the fuck?
Yeah. You followed the law, you little prick. Matt Whitaker, for those of you who don't know, is currently under federal investigation for his oh God, what was the name of this company? He's currently in he was first of all he ran and he was the legal advice for companies that would give patents and patent help to people, and one of the things, at a certain point, he talked about paying people in time coins. Apparently he thought that they were going to come up with time travel or whatever. The funniest part was he pitched and marketed a toilet for a well-endowed man. Hey guys, don't you hate it when you sit in your toilet and your doink touches the cold water? So the toilet had extra room for your doink to be there without touching the cold water. But the name of the company was so
World
bad.
Patent
It was
Marketing.
a subsidy.
The journal citing sources, Whitaker was paid $9,375 to serve on World Patent Marketing Advisory Board.
Right. World Patent Marketing sounds like a subsidy of Prestige Worldwide, who was founded by the Step Brothers.
That's fantastic.
This guy is a complete doof. And during his House testimony, he told Nadler, the Chairman Nadler, Chairman Nadler, who's Democrat now, is of course now the Democrats are in control of the House. He's the chair of the why will this not open? He's the chair of the House Intel Committee, and so oh, you bitch, internet. So anyway, Nadler asked him a question, and Whitaker looks at the time and says, "Well, your 5 minutes are up," and just tried not to ask him, erupted in laughter. And Chairman Nadler was like, "Yeah, guess what? I'm the one that gets to tell the rules, so you're gonna answer the fucking question." Like, what a fucking doof.
Yeah, no, he's a fucking shit.
Yeah.
He's a
So I
shit.
saw that was funny. The other thing I saw in that, I don't know if you picked up on this, was he admitted, and we knew this before, that the Department of Justice is defending Donald Trump in a emoluments clause lawsuit about his DC hotel. Have you seen this?
Yeah, I've skimmed it. I know there's some shit up and down about how a bunch of people have stayed at his hotel in D.C. at very high rates. So he's basically profiting from the fact that people are staying at his hotel while he's
Well, and
president. That's my
it
understanding of
even
it.
goes further than that. Foreign dignitaries know that to get a little bit more, juice in these negotiations, that if you're going to stay in DC for a week and try to talk to the White House, stay at the Trump hotel. So if they know you're throwing some money that way, they're like, oh yeah, of course we'll see, that guy that, sawed off the head of one of the journalists that's living in the United States. You just stay at our hotel.
Who filed a lawsuit against it?
I want to say it's the ACLU. Right.
I feel like that's what it was.
The Department of Justice is defending Donald Trump in this lawsuit. The Department of Justice is using our taxpayer dollars to defend Donald Trump against violations of the Constitution. That's not the way this is supposed to work. The Department of Justice is supposed to defend the United States. Like,
it is the governments of Maryland and the District of Columbia against President Trump, arguing that his stake in the hotel violates the Constitution's emolument clause.
Yeah.
That's just to clear that up.
It's like the Department of Justice is supposed to defend the United States if China sues us. It's not supposed to defend the sitting president. That should be Donald Trump's fucking lawyers and Donald Trump's fucking dollars. That's just that irks me. All right. Moving on. Huh?
Serenity now.
Shay, do you have any thoughts in the
insanity
the
later?
State of Virginia and how we should turn it off and restart it, or maybe just like. I personally think they should all just fucking resign.
It's one of those things where it's like I don't really give a shit what your intentions or how it looked or you felt about it in the 80s. It looks super fucking bad for the party as a whole, so you need to fucking go. Now, the real question for me is, do you follow the chain of succession or do you hold some sort of a secondary election? I mean, if you're just going to go with the chain of succession, I think that puts a Republican in charge, which is, I mean, that's the system, so that's what you go for. I don't like it.
But hey, actions have fucking consequences.
My main concern, yeah, exactly. And I mean, so here's what I'd say. I think not being a hypocrite and holding these people accountable for the same shit the Democratic Party's been preaching for years now is more important than letting a Republican have that spot. So, exactly, because in my opinion, in theory, that would mean the next time an election rolls around, unless that guy kills it, which if he kills it, he should be reelected, or that woman, whatever you want to say, whoever ends up, it's a dude now, okay, or whoever, So, either way, honestly, I mean, that's how government's supposed to work. So if they don't want to hold an election, hold it. But I mean, that's like the top 3 officials that have been voted in by Democrats. I could see the argument that we should hold an election. And then if the current guy wins, that's fine. I don't think they've made it. They're just going to go with the chain of command on that one, aren't they?
Let's take a step back and let me run this down for anybody who's been in a cave for a while. So a couple weeks ago, the governor of Virginia was apparently, it came out that in his page of his med school yearbook, it was him like leaning on a car, him fishing, and then a guy in blackface and a guy in a Klan outfit. So just by the layout of the page, it assumes that he was. What's that?
So super racist.
Well, it assumed that he was one of the 2 people in that fucking racist picture. So he originally, it came out, he originally said that, he originally apologized. Here's where he fucked up. He originally apologized for being part of the picture. And then the next day said, after looking at it, I'm neither of the 2 people. Yeah.
That's not me. Yeah, so which makes me think
Right.
that he did do some shit like that, and then was like, "Oh, they got a picture of that party."
Yeah.
Saw it and realized, "Oh
Yeah.
fuck, that's not me."
Right.
Which
Well,
either way, I don't know. You're right.
yeah.
If it wasn't
Like
him,
he
why
should
did he
have like,
apologize?
and this has
That's
been
so
like,
fucking funny.
I'm not a political genius here. This has been something that has been said by a lot of
No,
people. They're like, if he'd have just said the second thing first, he could have weathered the storm a little bit better. But then in a press conference, he said, and I and this is Shay, this is great. He says, I know I didn't dress as blackface in that photo because I remember all the times I've dressed in blackface. And that one time I dressed as blackface, it was for a dance competition, and I went as Michael Jackson. And like he literally pulled the defense of I did not rape that woman because I was over here raping this other woman. Yeah, like,
but I raped this other woman. Yeah, exactly. That is that honestly is just. I mean,
oh yeah,
if he's
right,
that
right.
dumb, he probably
Well,
should go anyway because that's pretty bad. Because if that wasn't him, he could have just been like he could have released a statement that said, "Hey, I'm looking into it. Let me take a look." And then they come that, "Hey, upon further examination, that's not me.
yeah,
I
no,
never did that." And then just fucking move
like
on.
he
Like,
muffed
yo, it's
that
not me.
whole thing. Then even further in that same fucking press conference, they were like, "Oh, you
Dummy.
as Michael Jackson?" He's like, "Oh yeah, I was pretty good too." And they were like,
Yeah. Oh, as soon as he
"Yeah,
says,
yeah." They're
"Oh,"
like, "Can you
he
still
almost
moonwalk?"
moonwalked,
He's
didn't
like,
he?
"Oh yeah," and his
Yeah.
wife is like, "Inappropriate."
He's like,
Yeah, like
"Don't do it. Don't do it yet."
it was so great. There were so many people who were like, that
I
bitch.
mean,
We almost had the Virginia governor
my,
moonwalking on
my
camera, and that one bitch.
oh man, my desire to not have a Republican person in that position is not necessarily outweighed by my desire to watch
Oh yeah.
people in power just eat
Okay.
shit like
So,
that.
like Shay said, the top tiers are like as we go down the party, and we got problems. The next guy is the lieutenant governor. He would take over. He's been accused of two women, very credibly, of sexual assault. So, like all sexual assaults, you got to fucking take that seriously. Now, he, of course, has said these people are lying. They're full of shit. Actually, he went out on, I think he went on, he made a statement, said that she's a lying bitch, which made everybody be like, "Whoa, buddy, he's up there." Shay is muted.
So I've really heard the top level of this. So basically, two people were accused of doing something super racist, and one person was accused of sexual assault. And my immediate reaction was like, well, that's shitty. Get him out. Get somebody else in there. Like, fuck it, get him out. It's there's always somebody willing to take your place as far as government goes, and if you're not going to be able to do your job because of the bullshit swirling around all these things, like, yep, you're out.
Like she says, is the lieutenant governor. I'm sorry, the attorney general. I'm sorry, the attorney general, who is a Democrat. Like the top three people are all Democrats. The attorney general says, "Yes, I know I have. There's a blackface picture of me out there because I dressed as my favorite rapper in the '80s," and everybody's like, "God damn it,"
Yep.
Right,
SNL has a great skit about this you should look at. But
like Shay was saying,
yeah,
the next guy is the Speaker of the House, who is a Republican, and he would then take the office of governor. Now, I can't let this go without pointing out that he's the Speaker of the House because there was a direct tie in that House, and he won that position because somebody lost an election by picking their name out of a fucking hat. Literally. Remember that? So
yeah, I do actually. Oh,
yeah. So
that's that guy.
He didn't win the House
that's right.
He picked his name, but there was a race in the House, and there was a woman. We'll have to. You guys can Google it, but it's actually great news. It's a woman and a man were in the race. Democrat was a woman. The man was Republican. They were in a dead tie, and the way they decided the election was they put an equal amount of their names in a bowl, and they picked a name. And the Republican won that. The Republican won that drawing.
I remember that. I didn't make that connection. I forgot about that. I forgot all about that.
The Republicans kept control of the Virginia House, and this guy is the Speaker of the House. Like, that's how that guy gets it. And you know what? I think that's totally fucking fine. Elections have consequences. Your racist actions have consequences.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
I mean, yeah. I honestly, it's one of those things. I'd be happy with it either way. The the person in me that would like people to have a voice might say having the top 3 officials in your government knocked out of commission all at once is pretty outside the norm, and I think might call for some sort of special election. So if the guy who's supposed to get the seat can run, and then some other people they can have an election, I'm fine with that. But if the taxpayers don't want to pay for it and they don't want to go through all that bullshit, then that's also understandable.
There is a good argument to say that the 2017 midterms and the blue wave that happened in Virginia would say that the people of Virginia would want the leadership of the state to stay in the Democratic hands. But this is how power trickles down. Like, if you guys fuck up 3 times in a row, like, it happens. And like you said, Shay, like, if they want to do a new election for these things, they can. I mean, we'll just see how it plays out. The thing is,
I mean, you don't that fuck, who knows? Maybe they just descend, and then in the next election, everyone's fed up with the bullshit, and they vote all Republican anyway in the normal election cycle.
It's just we're about 2 weeks out of when this was a real big problem, and all 3 of these people we're talking about have dug the fuck in. None of them are going to resign. They've announced none of them are going to resign. So basically, what you're saying is right. Like, they're just going to dig in like ticks and say, I'm in this position, vote me the fuck out in 2 years. Like, that's how they've approached it.
I mean, legally, that's that they have
also
that
have
right.
the right not to wear blackface or pose KKK hood.
Yeah. And that is also it's maybe it's delayed justice, but if what happens in the next election cycle is that they get voted out, I mean, that's how the system is also supposed to work. So, but then the question is, if they all win their election cycles again, what does that say about the people who voted for them? So, but then again, they'd be open to primary challenges too. I think too.
I
at that point, like somebody could run,
until the next election cycle that they're up for. I imagine they will all get the shit primaried out of them by people that are more liberal than they are.
Yeah,
because there were a lot of centrist Democrats in that state as it is, and a lot of really left-leaning Democrats won in Virginia that were, actually made a bunch of news. So I imagine if they hold on to these seats until then, they're going to get the shit primaried out of them by people that everybody's going to be like, that person's awesome, you suck. Like, it's just going to be that kind of a decision. We'll see. I would just like to point out that this again proves my hard and fast rule: if you're white, don't do blackface ever. Just don't do it. Shay, you're still muted. You're not good at this.
I just love how most of their no, not at all. But the upside to having a new recording software is that we now have an excuse to have a Patreon, and somebody can donate so we can afford our $20 a month for this shit. I don't know. I just don't understand why it's so hard to understand why people are pissed off about it. But if there's no legal, like, I don't understand how the people in off, maybe they do understand, but they just don't care. But if there's no legal way to pull them out of office if they don't resign, then just fucking let them ride shit out and get voted out of office in the next cycle. It's not that long. If the United States can survive 2 years of Donald Trump, Virginia can survive 2 years of a dude who did blackface in the 80s. I'm just saying.
I think what we need to prioritize in the next, let's say, 20 or 30 minutes where we do this podcast is we have a working government, Shay, but we are still under a national emergency.
Yeah.
So for those of you who have been paying attention, there was a government shutdown, the longest government shutdown in the history of the United States. Donald Trump gave his State of the Union address, like we talked about earlier. The agreement was on the 25th of January, Shay, that they had 3 weeks to come up with a deal, and it would run out on February 15th. On February 14th, Democrats came up with a deal. And Trump had said that he would sign it. The deal itself was not what Donald Trump wanted per se. So Donald Trump wanted what was it, $5.7 billion for border wall fencing. What he got was like 1.3.
Could have had
Yes,
25 billion
let's not
last year.
forget that Democrats offered him $25 billion for all of the wall funding he wanted if he would just make the DACA protections permanent, and he tore that up. So there you go. So what he got was 1.375 billion dollars for the border wall barrier, and another 1.6 billion dollars for like general security, and it funded a bunch of different agencies like through, I want to say, the rest of the fiscal year. I think it's until June. Yeah. So they came to a deal, and Donald Trump said that he was quote unquote not happy with it, but he had indicated to several people who would sign it. And then early Friday morning, it was very clear he had met with Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell went out and said that Donald Trump would sign the deal, because basically Mitch McConnell can't put anything on the floor unless he talks to Donald Trump, because we don't have an active fucking veto anymore. Like back in the day, the Senate would pass. I'm sorry. If you wanted to spend money for the federal government, the House, which constitutionally all bills that spend money have to originate from the House, they would pass a bill. It would go to the Senate. The Senate would say, "Yeah, that's pretty cool." They'd send it to the president. If the president agreed, he would sign it. If he didn't, he'd veto it. In the last, I would say, 20 years, we've come into this weird thing where it's like either a veto or a pocket veto. Like Donald Trump could have just not signed it, but since there was a time clock on this, like he couldn't wait until Saturday to sign it, because it would have fucked everything up. We'd gone into another shutdown. But pocket veto is where you just don't sign something. You just don't sign legislation. You say, I'm just not signing it, because if it's not time sensitive, you just don't sign it. Now, like, the legislature just doesn't bring up legislation unless they know the president will sign it. Like, Barack Obama vetoed all kinds of shit. Like, he vetoed all kinds of shit. Like, they just brought stuff up, threw it in his face. He said, fuck you guys, I'm out. Donald Trump has not vetoed anything yet.
Yeah.
Because for the last 2 years, he's had a Republican, Democratic-controlled House, so he hasn't had to. But Mitch McConnell met with him, said that he was going to sign this, but he also said that when he would sign this bill, he would declare a national emergency. Fuck.
I mean, in the long run, it's you see a lot of hubbub in the news about how there's going to be a lot of court challenges, which I think a few people, I think California and there's been a couple of lawsuits filed already. People had their lawsuits locked and loaded and just fired them off as soon as he declared it. And if you didn't think that was going to happen, you're stupid. I don't know, man. In the grand scheme of things, if he's using a state a national emergency to get his 6-7 billion, whatever it is, to build, would do whatever, 8 billion. Okay, that's still way less than 25. And not to be a hypocrite, but it is one of those things that, like, in the grand scheme of the budget, if it even gets built, isn't that big of a deal. I think in the long run, even if he builds it, it's probably going to hurt him more. Because you've got some of the talking heads like Kellyanne Conway are already kind of spitting fire at him, which I think people greatly overestimate that woman's influence.
Her weight.
But but somebody who is that gung ho for the president, having tweets like "the only national emergency is that our president is an idiot," even if it makes one or two people second guess what he's doing, I'm fine with it.
In Trump We Trust.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing. Then, which is, again, how much weight do you have on the opinion of somebody who listens to Ann Coulter? That's your thing. That's the thing you need to ask yourself. But, I mean, I guess my point is that, I mean, it sucks. I don't like it. It's not it's Congress's job to decide how that money gets spent. And, the reason that the Democrats took power is because the wall is an unpopular idea. And the people that were elected into power were elected under the assumption that they wouldn't vote for it. So you could argue the will of the people is being represented. And then also the polling says no.
That's a fantastic point, because in the 2018 Yeah, no, in the
Like, it is not a
2018
popular polling
midterms,
thing.
Donald Trump's closing argument was there was a horde, an army of illegals that were going to storm up from the southern border and rape and murder everybody. And they lost the midterms handily. They got their tanks kicked in. So that was.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's yeah, exactly. So and then there's just the generic polling that'll tell you like if you poll his fanatic base, they love it. But if you poll the general public, most people, it's more people are not for it than are. And to what you said about he's pumped up this crisis. I today specifically talked to a friend of mine who used to live in a rural area in Texas along the border, and what he did is literally lived in basically a one-room cabin on this property from a farmer, and he said he could sit on his porch in the morning and drink coffee and watch people cross illegally, like just counting them. He said, sometimes in the weekends there'd be lots and lots of people crossing. This was back in the early 2000s when the illegal immigration and crossing rate was like 2 million a year or something, which was at an all-time high. And his thing was like, I lived on the border. I've literally sat on my porch and drank coffee before work and watched people cross illegally, and nobody called it a crisis then. So why is it a crisis now when 400,000 people a year are immigrating? And he voted for Donald Trump and is a big supporter of a lot of stuff, but even he's, and he's pretty hardcore, and he's telling me, he's like, Shay, I can't see that logic. Like, it's not a national emergency. It's a problem that needs to be dealt with, but it is not a national emergency.
Well,
and those are two very different
problem
things
that we've had to deal with.
Every fucking president has had to deal with that issue. So why is it all of a sudden, when it's at its lowest rate, a national emergency? That's like declaring a national emergency for weeks after hurricanes come through when it's not even relevant. Like, it doesn't make any fucking sense.
The Obama administration admitted, and the people in their administration admitted, they were caught flat-footed during that unusual uptick in family and child migration. I think it was like 2014. Where there was just this influx of children under the age of 10. And families, whole family units, that were just flooding the intake points. Not over the border, for fuck's sake. There's even if you hop the fence and walk to a border agent and declare you're there for amnesty, you haven't broken the law. That's the way fucking international treaties work. So I won't talk about that because I'm going to get all worked up. You said, Shay, it's right. And it's also that the border has never been more militarized and defended, because it's not like the solar panels that Carter put on the White House that Reagan just tore off because he's a cock. No president has been the last president added 20% more fencing and 10% more border guards. I want to tear down all the fencing and fire all those border guards. Nobody has ever fucking done that.
No, every president in history has increased border security over previous presidents, is my understanding, in some fashion or another. Keep in mind there were people that called Obama the deporter in chief there for a while. People were taken aback by how many deportations happened under him, given the kind of things he said during his campaign. And again, this is one of those things that the false equivalency that the right will argue makes me so fucking angry, because just because I'm not for Trump's wall does not mean I'm not for border security.
No Democrat is running for the presidential election in 2020 on the platform of open borders. No, nobody is.
No, nobody is, and A, because it's a bad idea, and B, because it's fucking political suicide. It's not a good idea. Just to throw it. No, it's not. It never has, and that's what it's just. The issue I have with it isn't necessarily that the president has declared a national emergency to take care of something he sees as an emergency. It's the fact that the reason he sees it as an emergency is because he's a fucking tool, or he just doesn't understand the situation. It's clearly not an emergency.
My problem
it's not.
And so I'm going to kind of buttress up against your point there, is that it's not that he's declared, it's not that he's declared a national emergency, which clearly can be used by the next.
But Obama had 12 or 13, and a lot of people argued. How many was it?
So
one.
Here's the false equivalency, is that whenever somebody like Barack Obama, You can look it up. Just while I'm talking, Google Obama national emergencies, and there's going to be a Wikipedia leak, I'm sorry, link. It's going to be a Wikipedia link that when you look down through it, there's only one of those that are actual national emergency, declared national emergency, and it's for the H1N1 swine flu outbreak. And if you look at Donald Trump's, it's the same thing. There's a bunch of executive orders that they call national emergencies, but there's only one that they say national emergency. Yeah,
I'm drunk. I see what you're
you're either going to
saying.
say that Barack
Yeah.
Obama declared 19 of them, and Donald Trump has already declared, I don't know what, 6 or 8, I don't know, I haven't counted, but there's only one time that Donald Trump has declared national emergency, and it's for this fucking border wall. And there's only one time Barack Obama has declared a national emergency, is because of the swine flu outbreak. And I'm with you, Shay, that it's not the fact that we're going to build a wall.
Yeah, I'm hammered in confusing times. The fact that there's like this is a national emergency has been used, and difference of the funds have actually been declared
here's my
as,
problem. I'm with
which
you.
is two different things.
I'm like $5.6 billion in the scope of our national budget is nothing. The point is that it's $5 billion to be pissed away on something that won't solve the problem. And
no, and I agree with that, and that's why. And plus, it sets a precedent. I don't want Democratic presidents sidestepping Congress to spend shit either. Like, let's be clear here, because if this gets passed in, like, and the thing is I don't agree with it, but I can see the logic. If let's say he fights this, uses the National Emergency Act, gets his money, builds whatever he wants to do, and it doesn't get stopped, then there's going to be a case to be made for the first Democrat to step in and go, okay, gun violence is a national emergency, or climate change is a national emergency. I need $10 billion to do this thing, and I don't really care what Congress says.
That, people in Ohio
and then you're going to look at it
to drive, that's a national emergency.
That is a national emergency. Or as someone who lives in Colorado, the people that we have a problem with are the ones from California that have never seen snow.
Yeah.
Well, Southern California, sorry. Yeah, I'm going to get a pipe bomb somehow from that one. But
the thing, I agree with you. Like, the thing is that it's not.
I don't like it. That's not his job. Congress decides how that money gets spent, and you shouldn't sidestep that unless you absolutely have to, like a fucking hurricane buries a city underwater or something.
By the way, it's going to come from military projects and disaster relief. This $8 billion that he's thrown out there, and the other problem is that, okay, let's say that the Democrats said, okay, let's say that tomorrow Nancy Pelosi says, you know what, I'm muffed up. I'll give you $10 billion to finish your border wall, and we'll just solve this problem right now. That means there will be no crimes committed by illegals in the United States. The second that fucking wall is finished, I want 0 fucking people to be murdered and or assaulted or fucking hit, rear-ended by an illegal immigrant. Because you know what, the Republicans are not going to admit. Oh, that's exactly right.
That's how they're selling it. That's how they sell it.
Stupid is that logic?
Well, let me rephrase that. That's how Donald Trump sells it. That's how Donald Trump sells it.
Yeah, because
it's dumb.
And 40-foot wall. We float a wall through the Rio Grande River and all this horse. I mean, let's say we spend $100 billion on a wall that goes the entire 2,000 miles of the southern border, and we just make it. We put fucking laser sharks on top of every mile of it, and we just make it impenetrable. And then 6 months later, some illegal immigrant is going to commit a crime, and they're going to be like, "See, I told you guys." Actually, Fox News is going to be like, "See, I told you guys. The wall was." Wait a minute. What? Wait a minute, what? Like, they're not going to know what the fuck to do.
Well, I mean, and that's where that interesting statistic comes in of most illegal immigrants are here because they overstay their visas and they fly in through airports.
A third of the rate.
Like, you don't have, it's fucking stupid. And I mean, and you're right. That's the real problem, is that it is the issue of illegal immigration is real. The way he wants to tackle it is the dumbest way possible to tackle it.
And that's from two guys who have literally pounded drinks this entire podcast.
Yeah, like it's just not gonna. I just don't see how. and then now the argument is that the wall is air quotes a metaphor, but that's not what
Well,
he
wait a
said
minute.
in the
Why are you
past.
requesting $8
And
million for a metaphor?
but the important, yeah. Well, and then the thing to remember that I think is really important to remember about this is that people support the wall because they like Donald Trump, not because they think it would be a good idea. Um, Being able to say build the wall and having the wall built is a nice way to stick it to the libs. If tomorrow Donald Trump came out and said, you know what, I'm not really for a wall anymore, we're going to look at other options, they'd say, I don't want a wall anymore. I really think on a very local level, like on the level of the guy next to you at the bar that voted for Donald Trump, supporting the wall is a very easy way to say I support the president, but they don't really care about the actual logistics of it. It's
I would like to,
I don't know, man,
believe
because I
that
know a lot of the
the
people.
idea of supporting the wall is a very lukewarm way of saying I support the president's xenophobia and racism.
Yeah, I think for the crazy people in his base, that like 35% of like the QAnon, the Q-tards, as I like to call them, those guys.
The
I
run of the
agree.
mill
Like, but
people don't
I think
understand
if he came
that when
out
they
to
say build the wall, they're saying I support xenophobia. They don't understand that.
okay, well, I get that they don't get it, but I think those same people, if Trump came out, like in one of the ideas I've said is if I could wave a magic wand and funding wasn't an issue, I'd say the way to secure the border,
Right.
because building a wall means you have to steal people's land, by the way, is to have a series of motion sensitive cameras, drones, all these kind of series that could detect a person crossing the border. And then you just send people out to meet him and say, hey guys, you can't really do this. And then you don't have to steal people's land, but that's more expensive. If he came out tomorrow in support of that, the people that were in support of the wall would now be in support of that.
I think you're right.
Because he said it would work. You know what I mean? Like if Trump came out tomorrow and said, "Hey guys, I want to talk to you. I think the wall's a bad idea, so I'm going to go back, but I'm going to come up with a solution." Whatever solution he came up with, people would be for.
Tweaking my wall idea. Yeah, because
or whatever. Obviously,
he
wouldn't say it's a bad idea. He'd say, "I'm going to come up with another idea."
I'm good at building things. I've discussed it with my engineers. Blah, blah,
yeah,
blah, 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 blah. Yeah, whatever.
Whatever. He would find a way to sugarcoat him saying, this isn't going to work, so I'm going to find another. I fucked up. But the point is, I do think there's obviously people who want the physical barrier because it's simple, it's easy to understand. I get that. But I really think there's a good chunk of people would support whatever idea he supported. So if he came out and said, I'm not going to, find the nice way to say we're not going to build a wall, but I've got this other idea for security. No matter how stupid that idea was, they'd probably be like, all right, cool, I'm in your corner. Like, let's do this.
For the last fucking 6 months and say, like, listen, we're not going to give you, like, we were going to give you the $26 billion, $25 billion to build your dumbass fucking wall if you would just fucking guarantee us that you weren't going to deport the DACA recipients. And like,
well, it's like 600,000 people, right?
But also, let's not forget the fact that Donald Trump would like to put the DACA recipients, protections for the DACA recipients, on the table as a negotiating chip after he took it away. Like, he's the one that signed that off. Like, he removed the DACA recipients' protections. He says, well, I just set that on fire. So either give me the thing I want, or I might not give you the thing I just set on fire. I mean, that's fucked up from the word go. But
it is literally him. Like, those people were already protected until he came into power. So literally asking him to do that is to say, hey, can you just go by the laws we already agreed to before you took power, and we'll give you all this money? Like, just put things back to the way before you started, and we'll give you what you want.
Basically
is a pretty low fucking bar.
And knocking in your front door and being like, hey, man, I see you have a shitty front door. I'll replace it for $500. Like, that's the fucking bullshit going on.
Yeah. It's stupid. It's bullshit. And honestly, that's a good point. I think that gets lost in this entire argument is that the Democrats asking for DACA protections is literally them going, yo, can we just get
Well,
you
that
to
wasn't a
obey the
law.
laws
That's
we
when the
passed
executive
already, and then
order.
we'll give you your money? Like,
Right, yeah. But they were going
well,
to give
the
him
executive order,
$25
but
billion for a
uh,
stupid
uh,
fucking wall to just get that re-put back in place. And
yeah,
he tore that up. But that's the thing. It's like Nancy Pelosi for the last 6 months has said, like, listen, we will give you $4 or $5 billion for enhanced border security. You can hire more border agents. We can do more, drones, like you said, like drones. Stop and stop and frisk at the border, whatever the fuck you want to call it. It's going to be kind of racist profiling no matter how you shake it down. But like Nancy Pelosi was saying, like, we will give you money for border security. We're just not going to give you money to build a big stupid fucking wall that people have proven they can cut through in an evening. Like, and it's just not working out. And he said, "No, I want a big fucking wall." Like, and that's his problem.
yeah.
Like you said,
Well,
he has to
and
sell
and
it
that.
to these fucking mouth breathers that go to his rallies and hold up Q signs.
Oh God, it I feel like if there was an easy way for him to back away from it, he would. Because he's a fucking moron, but I'm sure he understands that overall it's not a popular idea. But it's one of those things that is so fucking tied to his identity as the president and his campaign that he can't really back away from it. So he's dug his heels in.
Build the wall to finish the
And
wall,
because
even though even
oh, that's
even though
amazing! Literally
at
nothing's
the minute
changed, and
he's
he's like, "Well, I'm
and
finished."
first of all, let's be very clear. This campaign slogan change was in the El Paso rally. What the fuck was that, Shay? Monday or Tuesday of this week? Yeah, so it's Monday or Tuesday
About
of
a
this
week.
week.
I'm not sure.
Everybody can
I
Google it,
sure shit
and you
didn't
guys have a
watch it.
phone in
So
your hand, whatever you listen on. But it was not started by Trump. It was started by his campaign chairman, Corey Fuckaduxkami. I don't know what the guy's name is. It's just some douchebag that worked for Trump to run his campaign. He went out there and literally everybody was like, build the wall. And he stopped them and said, no, finish the wall. Like he primed this rally to say, finish the wall, as if, like Shay just said, Donald Trump had built a single foot of new fucking wall since 2017, January 20th.
yeah. I mean, it's it sounds and looks to me like a marketing slogan. It's something people can say. It fits on hats. It fits on bumper stickers. It was great at the time, and when he took power, they had both house. They had the Senate and the House, so it was great.
713
They still didn't get the
days
wall
he had both
built,
the House
but
and the Senate, couldn't fucking pass this
no,
funding bill.
no. But you got some, yeah. But and now I would love to be my point is this. I would love to be a fly on the wall with like Donald Trump and his advisors like sitting there at the end of the day being honest with each other because they're tired. Well, his advisors are tired because they've been up since the sun came up. Donald Trump's not tired because he's only been at work since 11. And just being honest about it, like, because I know he's an idiot, but there are people around him that are career politicians and have their thumb on the pulse of how things really work, and they've got to be telling him like this is not a good idea, and he's like, go fuck yourself for sticking with it.
Populism and his enthusiasm into the next
Yeah,
administration, whatever that is, like, right, like they want to be the next guy you call, like when Mitt Romney makes his third fucking run at the presidency, like they want to be the guy Mitt Romney calls. And you're exactly right. I don't know, man. Like this, like, okay, well, I think we should probably like exit out of this podcast with
listen, I will say, listen, this is almost a solid 2 hours or over 2 hours, but we haven't done it in 2 weeks. So the average is you're looking at an hour a week. And by that logic, we have met our time constraints. And if you don't want to listen to the whole thing, you can stop anytime you want, listener.
To my wife, Rachel, and our friend, Katie Maddie, for not, quote unquote, tightening it up. But
I would like to say this weed shit is nothing. I regret nothing and apologize for nothing. Justin apologizes.
That's the
Y'all
thing,
can go
is
fuck
like,
yourselves.
Shay gets none of the shit I get for our podcast running late.
Nope.
But I would like to point out to Shay's I would have to say Shay's unbelievable entertainment. That while we're talking about the wall, remember Shay? Do you remember the guy who was going to started his own GoFundMe page for the wall?
I mean, that
Right.
went belly
Well,
up, and he had to get the money back,
here.
right?
So it's he did not go belly up. So here's a hilarious aside to run out the so
Oh,
the border wall GoFundMe that was run by a Brian Colfage, Kolfage. I think I'm saying that right. He raised over $20 million to build the wall. Let's just he was going to donate that money to the federal government to help start the building of the wall. Let's just hop, skip, and jump over the fact that you can't give money to the federal government for a specific purpose. You can donate money to the IRS. You can actually just give them a shit ton of money if you want to, but that just goes into the federal budget. You don't get to earmark it. Like I can't give like if I were to win the lottery tomorrow, I can't donate to the federal government $50 million and then direct the parks and recreations department to build a golden statue of Donald Trump with an ass on his face. Like you just can't do that. Like you just can't do that.
no.
So apparently the entire thing of this whole GoFundMe was just absolutely fucked. And then apparently once it hit the $20 million mark, far short of the I think it was $1.5 billion that they were going for. They were going to refund everybody's money, but they gave them an option to, instead of refunding their money, to give them to this Brian Colfage guy who has already had, I believe, at this point, two other very like veteran associated like charities that went nowhere. Like he is pretty much a shyster. Like he is just running. He's a crook. Like he's just like racking up money and not doing the right thing with it. And um he this is his third time he's done this. So after GoFundMe said started refunding his money, you had the option to give the money to him to build the wall privately on his own. And over I don't know how many people, but $7 million was given to him of the 20 million to build the wall by his private company. Now we're just again hop, skip, and jump over the fact that he has absolutely no fucking legal right to build anything on any of this fucking property at all, right? But now he is going. Now he is selling coins to raise money for the wall, Shay. And I don't mean to ruin anything for you, but I think I just found your birthday present or your Christmas present.
Oh yes. I still to the it's not been that long, but every now and then I keep it. I because of when I got let go from my previous job, it was on display at my desk. That coin from the Trump
Yeah.
Summit you bought me is in my glove box. So people say every now and then at a bar, someone will go, "Oh, those stupid Trump coins." I'm like, "Hey, you want to see one? I've got one." And I will walk them to my car and show them this coin, and everybody says the same thing. Wow, it's really impressive how much detail there is on their fat rolls.
So Shay, I just sent you a link to the image of the coin that we're gonna buy. So this motherfucker, this Jeff Colfage or whatever is selling these coins for $49.99 to help fund him personally building the wall.
I cannot wait to see this. What are you going to sell me, sir? First
of all, I would like for those of you, this is an audio format. On one side of it is actually Jeff Colfage's face. It says we build the wall. Brian Colfage, like it's we build the wall, and then Brian Colfage and his face, and on the back it's a stylized emblem of "Make America Great Again, Secure Our Borders, We Build the Wall, 2019."
Man, that shit is glorious.
Wow.
In the absolute worst possible way humanly imaginable. Yeah, that's pretty fun. Jesus, that guy's fun. That's what a fucking asshole. I really do sometimes wonder, like, did this guy do something like this because he legitimately believes in it, or did he do it because he knew if he was the first guy to do it, his name now even dumb drunks at fucking this time of night with a podcast that 5 people listen to are
Well,
going to be talking about him. Like, it's got his name in the news. Like, on the one hand, it's a smart business decision. He'll make
he
money
is.
off
I
of
mean,
this.
full disclosure, he is a AAA amputee from the Iraq War, and he,
Yeah.
he did serve his country, but he has also been involved in 2 very shady, like veteran, raising money for veterans things that have never panned out. Like, there has been hundreds of thousands of dollars that have been raised before this whole border wall bullshit that just never materialized, and everybody's like, "Where's the money going?" He's like, and he always says, he always says, like, I have never taken a salary from any of these donations or these projects I have come up with, blah 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 blah. But nobody can come up with an actual fucking job he has other than doing this kind of shit. And
I mean, I should say that anytime I see something like this, and this is just a me thing, my natural instinct
well,
is,
this
what's your
guy,
angle? Like, and that's just a me thing. Like, I would honestly, if I met the guy and he said, like, no, I just really believe in this message.
that's
But, all
great.
right, cool, that's your thing, that's
Well,
fine. But I'm always
well,
so
the funny
skeptical
thing
about
about the
that
whole
now.
$20 million he raised for the border wall that he then had to refund, and he somehow got $7 million of it to, in his private construction company to build a wall, which, like, you have absolutely no
Hmm.
eminent domain. Like, it's so insane. Like, it's so insane. But
Yeah.
the second he did that, border wall GoFundMe, the next thing he did was just do an entire, like, if you read the GoFundMe, it's nothing but an explanation about how this is not a scam. Like if the
Yeah. I
second
mean,
thing
that's
you
my
have
thing.
to
Like,
say about your
I just,
project is this is totally not a scam, is probably it's going to be a fucking scam.
you know how I know I can't
Yeah,
trust you?
yeah,
You keep
right,
saying I
yeah,
can trust you. I mean, it's one of those things, and I completely understand. Maybe he wants to help. At least from my point of view, if I got the idea to start a GoFundMe for a bunch of money I could donate to the government, the first thing I would do is look into, can I just directly donate government? I would ask somebody.
do
I
a
would look
Google.
into it for these kinds of things, and I do a Google, and you're pretty going to quickly pretty learn. You're going to learn pretty quickly that's not really how it works. Now, and I don't know. I just, like I said, I really would love to meet that guy, because I'm so curious is to just talk to him and buy him a beer and find out, like, because I feel like if I sat down and had a beer with him, I'd be able to figure out if whether or not it was something he really believed in, because like you said, he served in the military. It's definitely um a possibility that that's just what he thinks, and he wants to serve the president, and help the president. It would be a better word, because he's no longer in the military. But the other side of that is my natural instinct again is, what's your angle? Because like you said, he
Yeah,
made money off of it, and that's such a shitty situation. And this is such a fucked up thing to say, but if, like, some normal person who hadn't served in the military had done that, would they have made as much money? I don't know. That whole thing is so fucking weird, and just every time it pops up in the news, I have to click those links, because I'm like, ooh, what's the next chapter in this guy's story?
yeah.
It's so strange.
So yeah, I mean, and I think you're right. I think at a certain point you can gauge whether this guy is right or not, but he has been right twice now, so it's hard to trust him.
Yeah. It is hard to trust him. You can't really see this right now, but from Justin has taken off his headphones and he has walked away from the podcast, to which I assume means he has to pee. Whether or not he's going to edit this out is honestly, it's very unlikely, because he is not going to listen to the entire thing before he edits it. So we can take this opportunity to talk about how handsome I am in opposition to what Justin looks like. Uh, it's really stunning, if you think about it. Our mother had him, and then she saw what she made and said, I can do better. And then they made me, and everything is right in the world. And I'm mainly saying this to see if Justin edits this out. It'll be great if he doesn't, because then the 15 people who listen to the podcast are going to hear it. Oh, look, he's back. Here he is. Hey, listen. Don't worry about anything I said while you were gone.
I have a feeling that I'm gonna have to do some editing.
No.
I just didn't want to stop the whole goddamn thing.
Yeah, well, full disclosure, there is no lack in sound where I'm not talking. I'll say that much.
All right, so let's just go ahead and wrap this up. We have,
that's probably best.
Nonsense. It's gone on for about 2 hours now,
but like I said, if you factor in the fact we haven't had a podcast in 2 weeks, it's not that bad.
Less than an hour a week.
That's right where we should be. Yeah, exactly. So go fuck yourself, guys. I mean, thank you for listening.
Actually, he's basically saying that Katie and my wife Rachel should just go fuck themselves.
Yeah, I saw her post on Facebook about guys that start podcasts.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we actually missed doing this for the last 2 weeks. Shay and I joke about it.
We're so sorry.
Enjoy the absolute shit out of this. And I know we say that at the end of every podcast, but it's true we actually do, because I get to talk to my little brother. Shay gets to vent, which is what he needs to do in his soul, because that's the way Shay is. But if you like this, please go to like and rate us on iTunes. We should be everywhere that you can find your podcasts. Yeah, we
not Alex Jones.
Every place you cannot find Alex Jones. The only thing we don't have, Shay, is an app. Like, that's the one thing Alex Jones has on us.
That's true.
I think we should get a little bit more listeners before we decide to make our own fucking app, which is actually the only way he gets to talk to anybody at this point. So, yeah. So
pretty much
like and rate us on iTunes if you like this podcast. Shay and I love doing it.
Or if you hate it,
I would love to hear. I would love to read the one.
Oh my god, I don't give a shit about good reviews. Nobody cares about good reviews. I think I'm amazing. So if you tell me I'm amazing, I'm going to say, "Oh, that's great, old news." But the people that don't like me, those are the ones that are fun. We would love
to hear your 1-star reviews of our podcast that we do.
Please.
Well, I mean, I had 2 pitchers of beer. I don't know what Shay put down this week.
4 beers and about a half a pint of bourbon.
That's what we bring to podcasting, ladies and gentlemen. That's the level of professionalism we bring. So we would love for you to rate us. That's why we want to hear those 1-star reviews. You should be able to find us everywhere you get your podcast. And of course, hit us up at Twitter. It's at WoodsCastThe. And then on Facebook, we are at WoodsCast1776. And always shoot us an email at thewoodscast1776@gmail.com, because we're going to take every bit of Alex Jones' shtick until he's off the air entirely.
Here's the thing, man. If you've gotten all the way to the end of this 2-hour podcast and you heard my wonderful brother there give you the addresses to contact us, reach out. I will send you $5.
We will answer any and every stupid fucking question you will send us. We swear. That's our pledge to you.
4 or 5 people at the bar I go to that are going to listen to this, and if you want to email me, I will buy you a beer.
That's a good heads up too. Like Shay, I am the grand chapter advisor of a chapter of Alpha Sigma Phi here, and I had oh man, he must be like 20, 22, and he walked up to me after a meeting and says, "Hey, I'm caught up on your podcast." Yeah,
you buy that man some booze.
So Angel,
that guy is fucking going
Angel,
places.
Heads up. Thanks for listening. Next time we're out, beer's on me.
Let's do it.
But yeah,
dude, you heard it. This is legally binding somehow.
It's about as legally binding as anything Donald Trump's ever done. That's true.
That's
all right, everybody. I hope you had a good time. Shay, this is the point. Say goodbye to the nice people.
Toodles, nice people.
A rubber band man, just moving, a rubber band.